everyone. My name is Sarah Koegler. I'm a transformation partner at The Ready, and I'm here with my friend Alastair.
Hey everybody, Alastair Steward here, also a transformation partner at The Ready. And we are here again to answer another great question from a newsletter reader. So I'm going to read the question and Sarah and I will talk a little bit about it. And we look forward to hearing what you all try. So here's the question. So much feedback is top down or peer to peer. What strategies do you have for increasing honest bottom up feedback? How can we get leaders the feedback that often doesn't leave team member level discussions? That is such a good one. Sarah, you want to get us started?
Sure. When I read this question, Alistair, I thought about a principle that we talk about a lot with our clients, the concept of it's the fish and the fishbowl. So to explain that a little bit, when we think about different components of an organization that are impacting the people in the organization itself, the work, you can consider the fishbowl, which is what's the operating system in which all the work is being done? What are the systems and structures and policies that the organization has created? And you can think of the fish, and the fish are the people who are swimming around in that system. And sometimes there's a tendency to zoom in too much on one or the other. So we might just be thinking about the fish bowl, like the systems and structures of the organization and trying to tweak those to get what we want. Or we might be over dialing on the people themselves. So their either their mastery of skills, their interaction with one another. And actually, I think in this situation, thinking of both the fish and the fishbowl will be really helpful. So let's start with the fishbowl. What are we talking about? The fishbowl, when we talk about feedback and increasing an organization's willingness and comfort giving feedback generally, or having a strong feedback culture, so giving and receiving feedback, we have talked in our newsletter, so you probably read it, about a feedback OS or a feedback infrastructure. And so that's what I think about with the fishbowl. And so how does this apply to a leader? If the organization has built a strong OS and some strong systems and structures around feedback that leader can participate in, it's going to be much easier for that leader to have access to that valuable feedback. So if everyone is participating in quick hot washes after an event, including the leader, that leader is going to get some frequent real-time feedback. If everyone is participating in a ritual of quick feedback hits in a one-on-one, that leader is participating in those, they're going to be more likely to get that feedback from the system, from people underneath them, down in the ranks. So that's one way to look at it. Does your organization have a good fishbowl around feedback? And can you put some things in place that the leader can participate in themselves as one of the fish? And then, Alistair, the other thing I was thinking about was the fish themselves. So what's the role of the leader in all of these? So we're not sure who submitted this question, but if you are a leader and you submitted this question, then you actually probably have a lot of influence over getting what you need, getting that valuable feedback from your team. So talk about a couple of ways that you can do that. One is leaders who constantly model giving and inviting feedback themselves in a way that shows like sort of a comfort and an openness to feedback. You're going to be showing people around you that it's expected and it's safe to be in a constant feedback rhythm with one another. So modeling it, doing it a lot, and then naming out loud, sort of narrating as you go. Hey, feedback's really important to me. I'm hoping people will let me know how this went, or I'm working on this thing. I'm hoping that people will give me feedback, around when I'm doing well at this or I'm not doing as well. So as the leader, you can yourself sort of become a walking advertisement for the value of feedback, and as a result, people are going to trust that you really want it and you're going to get more of it. If you're really going to try to invite more feedback, if you are the leader, you need to be able to walk the talk. If you're saying that feedback is valuable, if you're saying that you want it, you have to be ready for it. You're going to get some feedback that you don't agree with, or that you think reflects a lack of perspective or understanding of your role from people who maybe don't do the same work you do every day. And you need to be ready to hear that, to thank the giver for that feedback, and take what you can from it, and put down what doesn't quite apply to you. But I would say, like, you can really break what you're trying to do if you have a reaction to getting feedback from someone that communicate something different than what you're hoping for. Like that feedback was not safe, or I didn't agree with it, and there could be some consequences for you. So I think there's some self work to do as the leader to both model and invite feedback, and then also to really be ready to hear some things that you're not excited to hear or that you don't agree with.
Yeah, I think those are all really, really good points there. I think the fish and fishbowl analogy is such an apt one, and so many organizations go straight to the fish, whether those are manager fish or individual contributor fish, and sort of just tell them harder to ask for feedback or whatever it might be. Increase the pressure versus thinking about systemic ways of enabling some of those conversations.
Mhm.
So I think that's really smart. And I hope anyone who listens to this who is a leader of leaders or a manager of managers think about that for the managers who report to you and how you can help them be in a situation to receive more feedback and do more with it. In a lot of organizations, and especially for someone who's thinking about how do I get feedback up to my manager, whoever it might be, they might not have as many systemic levers to pull on or things to try. And so what was coming up for me is thinking about approaching your manager or someone with more positional authority than you, kind of in the same way we would say that anyone approach anyone about feedback in a lot of ways. And the first thing there is kind of contracting with them around if they are open to receiving feedback, how they want to receive feedback, and even maybe starting with something that came to me as I was listening to you, Sarah, is could you go to your manager and say, hey, I think it would actually be really valuable if you were to ask the team for feedback.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm hearing anything in particular, there are big issues, but I think that it would be good for the team. I think it would model good behavior. Would you be open to asking the team for feedback and seeing if they are, and if so, maybe even supporting them and thinking how to do that in an effective way? If that's not an option, something you could think about then is how you might give feedback to your manager. And so again, thinking about a lot of the ways we would talk about this generally, go to them, ask them if they're open to receiving feedback, if sort of get their consent to receive feedback. If so, how do they like to receive it?
Mm.
What's makes it easiest for them to digest it and to receive it? When's a good time? Like those kinds of things to kind of stack the odds in favor of you being able to deliver the feedback and have it land. And even it can be easy to forget that folks with more positional authority than us, still human, still have people above them often who are asking them to do certain things or still under pressure. And so kind of thinking about their context, acknowledging their context, I think is really important. But if you can come to some agreement with your manager about when I have feedback for you, what's the best way for me to share it, in writing, out loud, one on one, whatever it might be.
Mm.
And similarly, just always making sure that feedback is actionable, just like you would want for them or from your peers. Letting them know what in particular you've noticed in terms of how they're doing their job or showing up that's either positive or where there are maybe implications they're not aware of, and what those impacts are. And to a point I think you made, Sarah, connecting that to what's important to them in terms of their
Mhm.
priorities and their what success looks like for them. And then the last thought I had was if all else fails, and if the situation is such that it's really an issue that the managers are aware of the impact of their behavior, you can always try giving them feedback about receiving feedback. And what I mean by that is in a one-on-one or something similar, saying, listen, I want to share something with you because I think it's kind of getting in the way of our relationship and my ability to do my job. Feels to me like I'm not able to share feedback with you in terms of the effect driving on me or on other people on the team, but I'd really like to. So is that something
Mhm.
we can talk about? Is that something we can kind of agree around a way to do that? So yeah, those are some of the thoughts that came to mind for me, Sarah.
I do have one more thing to add. I think it's like building on something you said, and it's how do we squish the fish piece and the fishbowl together on this thread of if there's not maybe psychological safety for you to give the leader feedback, and that might be real and that might be perceived, but either way, that's what's happening for you. Is there an opportunity for you to contribute to making some changes to the system and structure, even if you're not in a position of power, that invites the leader to participate in? So, in my experience, very few leaders are going to say, I don't think feedback's good for our system or we don't need more feedback. So, is there a way for you to suggest, hey, I read about this idea or I heard about this structure that I think will increase our ability to give each other feedback, which will contribute to this important thing that we're after that I'm sure your leader is championing. And would you like to participate in it? So again, you're not having to single that leader out themselves. But if you get a sense that they're not getting feedback or there's not enough safety in the ranks for the feedback to come up to them, how do you build something that they can step into?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. And maybe even asking what they're working on, what the ways they're trying to grow in their role,
Yeah.
and how you can support that. I think can open that door as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for the great question to our reader who submitted it. Give some of this a try. Let us know how it goes. We'd love to hear about experiments you all are running and what you're learning. And we will catch you next time.